Welcome to episode 7 of CyberBytes, the podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Cooper, co-founder of Aspiron Search. Today I sit down with Jane Bradshaw. She's just joined Enterprise IT Security as their new COO. Got a really interesting background spanning networking, product, marketing and operations, and she's actually built and sold her own company in the past. She shares the reality of life working for international firms with customers all around the world, and she's absolutely dedicated to educating others. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me on, Joseph.
No, absolutely. First of all, congratulations on the new role.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very exciting. This is a company that is builds best of breed security solutions for our customers. And cybersecurity, we are known as the CyberNinjas. It's actually a term that is coined, and we work with state government, education, financial services, and healthcare.
Nice. Well, how many weeks you been there now?
5 weeks. Five weeks.
Wow.
Yes. And I'm paddling as fast as I can to keep my head above water. The initial work that I'm doing is a lot on the marketing focus, and I have a person who is absolutely fantastic that I work with on that with partners. Being a solution provider, we have very, very strong partners, technology partners that we deal with, plus a master distributor. And it's still, it's putting that best of breed security solution in place for our customers. A lot of it has been in the beginning looking at, their solution briefs and doing some revamping of those, updating. We're redesigning our website to be more current and reflect the CyberNinjas and what we are and what we do. We've had some interesting we're headquartered down in the Charlotte, North Carolina space. And we've had some since I've been on board, there's been a meetup down in Columbia, South Carolina, which was a lot of fun. We did some things on education with a partner, Palo Alto, on SOAR and and Cortex and some of their newer products for the educators in South Carolina. We had it at the South Carolina ETV. So it's SCETV, which is kind of like the PBS piece, and large group of educators came in and understanding what's going on in security and why they should be paying attention to it, which actually dovetails really nicely into what the educators are trying to position in terms of federal money. They're lobbying to have money that was really just being allocated on the network side. They're saying, you know what, our networks are really starting to get beefed up now. So we need to focus more on the security side and getting the security policies and stronger security products in place. So this dovetailed nicely, a lot of great event. We are actually also, this company sponsors with the Code Ninjas. And there will be an event on the 25th in March 25, in Charlotte. And that is really geared at girls in STEM. So I'll be down there with a couple of the other people that I work with to play some games and to talk to the girls about getting into security and different career paths and things like that.
Awesome. Is that like a free event, or is it like, how can people sign up? I'll put it in the show notes. And
I'm sure that I will get you that information.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes so people can check it out, because I'm sure there'll be some people interested in that. So look, Jane, I know there was lots to talk about just then, but before we go into all of that, keen to just find out where you're from and how you got into security. I know you've got like a really, really impressive background, to say the least. So let's go through it, because there's a few things I want to pick at before we get to your current role. But yeah, take me back.
So, I've been in networking forever. That's where I started my career. I started it actually at a company. Let's put it this way. I've worked for a lot of defunct networking companies that are either been purchased or gone out of business, things like that. I'm a CCIE from way back when. So I really was in networking. I actually ended up in a role that, as I don't know if your listeners remember Wang Laboratories, but Wang was coming out of bankruptcy and they were growing through acquisition. They were buying a lot of companies to create a services company. And I went in and I led their networking services area, which also had some security, was really starting to be something people talked about. This is back in late 90s, 2000. From there, I moved over to another networking product company as leading their marketing and product management. Unfortunately, it was a Me Too product. There were a lot of other competing products that we were late to market, and it did a whole bunch of stuff. Too much stuff. The best thing I'll tell you, if you're creating a product, focus. Do not have it do everything, load balance, do network management, do quality of service, and probably can clean your bathroom if you understood the right toggle. We were actually out at a bank in Malaysia, and the CIO said to us, "You know what this product is good for?" And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. He said, "This is unbelievable against denial of service attacks," which were really hitting Asia at that point. They were starting to come over to the US and rest of the world, but in Asia, it was a big deal. So we were thinking, wow, that's a real differentiator. So a group of us rewrote the corporate business plan, sold it to the board of directors and the rest of the leadership team, and we made a wonderful product, an IDS and an IPS product. We relaunched the company within, I would say, it was about 6 weeks. Total relaunch to become a security product company. Mm-hmm. We had engineers that were reading a book on SSL and coding at the same time. And when I say relaunch the company, that was website, content, collateral, look, feel, advertising, who our whole branding, who we partnered with, because you had to really look for some specialized partners, people being trained in sales, marketing, you name it. We became, and eventually the company was sold. But in that time, I had a thought. My husband was in data storage. He was in finance. He wasn't technical, but he was looking at there was a truck that was carrying tapes, DLT tapes, to a storage facility, and there was an accident, and he was lamenting one night, "Oh, we were counting the tapes, making sure everything was there, and we were off." And I said, what's really interesting about that is data at rest is data at risk. And he looked at me, he was like, "What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense to me." And I said, "Well, no, think about that. Tapes, yeah, I get that. It's physical tapes, but everything now we're starting to look at network attached storage and using your network for this type of stuff." And he's like, "Okay." And that really just made me fit. And I was like, I'm going to start a company. So with a partner, I started a small company, and we looked at how's the best way to get business. Well, 8A, woman-owned company. Yep. And my partner was a disabled Vietnam minority vet. And so we got other points there. We located the company in a headquartered there. We built a small data center. And before you know it, we were getting contracts because government need to use 8A firms and having the plus of being a hub zone too. So we created a data center, and we were managing a lot. We were outside the ring of fire of the federal guidelines. So we were managing a lot of the backup and the traffic for these specific 3-letter agencies. And it was a lot of fun. And in that time, that also gave me the latitude. I had an idea for a SIEM product, and it gave me the opportunity to spend my time building that in software. And we ultimately, we grew. We had about 65 employees, and we sold the company.
Nice.
And
how did you meet your partner at the time to do that?
He worked for me. He worked for me at the company.
So you poached somebody from your own firm.
Yeah, he had already left the other company.
That's amazing.
He was doing some consulting on the side. And when I approached him, he's like, "Yeah, this sounds cool. Let's dive in." And it really was. For about 9.5 years, we did this, and it was a lot of fun, and it really pushed me into security. in data security, network security, cybersecurity. And I've stayed in that since that point.
So after you'd grown the business, obviously there must have been a ton of challenges with that.
I joke and say there's probably not enough hair dye left in the world for me to do another start on my own company. I've gone and worked in startups since then and loved every minute of it. The best part about a startup is there's nobody slapping your hand saying, this is your swim lane. You focus here. You may have an idea for a security product, but that belongs over there. You don't touch that. So I think, being in a startup environment or a small company environment where you can have a lot of impact is just, to me, the guts. That's just resonates with my DNA.
100%. So after you'd grown, sold the business, what happened after that? Was you not retiring on a beach somewhere?
No, I kind of, I did look at that. I looked at perhaps it'd be a better idea if I kind of focused on my family a little bit. Maybe I have 2 children and maybe I should pay them some more attention. They quickly were like, get out the door. No, Mom. So I did, I moved over and I was at EMC for a while. And that was fun. And then I had a chance to move over to Dimension Data, which is part of NTT, and I created an intelligent managed storage product based off of the Viper product that EMC had, and it was intelligent managed secure storage because we were really moving some things into the cloud. And from there I moved over. I kind of was looking at my background and saying, yeah, I built data centers and I've built them around the world, but I've never run a data center, like intimately run it. I've set it up and let things go. And, my partner was doing that when I had the company. So I moved to a co-location provider and I was responsible there for not just product management for the data center. It was also looking at all of our security and compliance and our certifications for that. So, looking at ISO and we were ISO 27001, maintaining that cert, maintaining the Sarbanes-Oxley. We had some government entities looking at what that takes and maintaining those type of security. We weren't FedRAMP. We didn't have to be because our entities were, but there are stringent controls that you have to meet too. So, PCI, GDPR, how did that affect us? Because that was just coming in effect when I was at this colo. And because our data centers were in the US, does that really affect us? Well, guess what? We had major European companies that were in our data center. So we had to adhere to all that and show them and document. I think that's what people if they're getting into being a compliance officer or said, that sounds interesting, I think I want to move there. They don't understand the amount of documentation that's required in order for you to meet all of these compliance regulations. And that's really, it's herding cats, right? Getting people, okay, we have to have this library, we have to look at that. And I've run FedRAMP programs. So that's another complex piece that's against it, that you've got to meet all of these specific regulations and detail and be able to show that you meet them. That's critical.
With am I right in saying that you've only worked at 2 US companies?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
US. I've only worked in 2 companies that are only focused in the US.
How was that just in general?
When I did that, when I made the change, and one was the co-location company, and when I made that leap, at that point in time, I had been spending a lot of time on the road. I joke about my daughter when she was little, little kids with drawing stick figures and coming home from school, waving her paper around. Look, I drew a picture. And there's my husband and my son, and there's an airplane, crude, airplane going over the top. And there's me, another stick figure in one of the windows waving at them. When I would go, and especially, when you go to Asia, you're gone for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because you need to hit all of these countries while you're there. You're going to make it worth it because, flying to Australia from the East Coast of the US is 22 and a half hours. So you really need to spend your time and spend it wisely. I got to a point of, what, I really, if I want to go to Europe, I would go to London, how people viewed going to New York City.
Wow.
I view going, oh, overnight, go to London for a meeting and then turn around the next day and come home. No problem. I can do that. And I just said, you know what? If I want to go to Europe, I want to go on vacation. I want to enjoy myself. I really want to start to focus here. It was an interesting transition and one I did struggle with, that talking to and really getting the people in the company to understand what, like I said, the GDPR piece. Why do I have to pay attention to that? We're not a European, but we have European companies in our data center. So we do have to look at that. Getting them to understand what happens in the different parts of the world affects what happens to us here.
Yeah, 100%.
In networking, not just in business and in networking and security, and getting them to understand that was always an interesting challenge. It really was.
So obviously just flying to London and treating it as if it's like a 30-minute trip. Obviously there's that work-life balance you mentioned that you sort of didn't have. How about now then? Like what's the future and work-life balance? How's it different now? Are you traveling as so much or?
No, and I'm traveling. I'm located in the Northeast. My company is headquartered, that I work for, is in Charlotte. That's a quick flight. What's that, like 2 hours? That to me is like, whatever. I'm not changing 4 different time zones. The climate's different. It's warmer there than where I am. But in fact, everybody that I talk to is bad allergies down there because this is their green pollen season. They're covered with green everywhere. However, it's this, even though we are focused in the US and we are focused in this area, we have people in other countries and customers reaching out to us for assistance because this is what we're known for. And it's really, so I'm still getting my international fix. How's that? And looking, and even though I don't think that I will ever be able to my kids are grown, they're gone. So I don't have to worry about coming home and, I'm missing this happening in their life or that happening in their life. Now I'm trying to pull it out of them, right? Tell me what's going on. But the interesting part is I still am a junkie for everything that's happening within security, no matter where it's happening. And how will that affect us? I mean, you can see with the war in Ukraine that the difference that we were seeing in attacks on our critical infrastructure in the US a year ago in January are so different in a year ago in February, where the attacks started really ratcheting up, and we can see all the different pieces that are happening. That in itself, IoT or ICS, OT security, is such an interesting piece. I mean, the attack surface is massive, and people don't think about that. They don't, and they think, oh yeah, that isn't that how the Target breach happened? They came in through the HVAC system. Oh, that would never happen here. Well, is your HVAC system, is that on your network? Oh yeah. When's the last time? When did you ever change those passwords? Oh, it has passwords. So you do, I'm not saying that that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it with the part that's very difficult for security companies, they're used to selling to IT. This is a totally different group, and they don't meet a lot in the middle because your facilities systems are controlled by the facilities department, not the IT department. Now, obviously, throughout the years, there's been more and more of a melding of minds in the middle and understanding because of the Target breach, because of what happened with the fish tank out in Vegas in one of the big casinos there. So they are getting a better understanding of it. It's still, if you are going in to sell this, you're selling to a different crew. And if you start to look at healthcare, where they have medical device engineers, IT, and then facilities, those are 3 silos. And they don't talk. They aren't talking at all. And, so you really have to look at the IoT controllers that are wireless based. How secure are they? What are they controlling? Are you able to take your wireless network and segment that? So you aren't carrying visitor or patient traffic on the same, or you can't have a crossover between what the medical personnel are also working with. I mean, I wrote a white paper a couple of years ago. It is securing the Internet of Medical Things. And that, I'll tell you, Joseph, if you read that white paper, you'd go, oh my God, I am never going to get another MRI. If I do, I'm going to be checking that machine out left and right.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The whole industrial security piece itself is just fantastic. We do a lot of work with Dragos, and their whole mission is safeguarding civilization. And what an interesting conversations I have with the practitioners there, and even the sales folks. It's amazing. Cool. Well, look, we could talk for hours. Jane, what advice would you give to somebody that's looking to potentially consider a career starting maybe in networks or something similar to yours?
You know what? I will tell you, one of the things that I have found that people, and I think women in security actually have a better handle on this, is the human piece. There's, if you follow the breaches, it's a human aspect that's happened somehow or other. That is always when we're involved, there's major holes, right? But you're never going to get away from that. I would tell you, get yourself educated. There's so much material that's out there. Find the companies that you think are leaders within your area that you want to focus on. So like you mentioned, Dragos, Aramis, Dragos, they're really top of the line, Nozomi, in the whole OT security side. And look, go on their websites. But I still do this. I sign up for every webinar that I can find. Do I miss more than I attend? Yes, but I get, you get the little link and I go back and watch them. That's how you're going to really understand what's going on out there. Don't lose the human part of it, though. 100%. That, you really have to have that EQ, that emotional quality or emotional quotient that has to be applied to this, because they still are, no matter how much security training that you're sending them through, they're still sticking that little yellow sticky on the side of their workstation and their passwords. You're still fighting with them about it. Please don't use password_1. It's think of, and one of the interesting passwords I actually heard the other day was somebody was saying, the best one to do is look at some nursery rhymes and put spaces between those words, because you're going to remember that. So that was a good tip for people too. It's read, and understand what's going on out there. Those are the most valuable employees that you can apply your knowledge of what you're getting. And I always say, whenever I was interviewing for something, I'm a student of the game.
Yep.
I am very competitive and I want to win. But I have to know what all of my potential competitors are doing, and what are their views on what's happening within this. Join, go to the meetups, see what you can do. Join Women in Security, join SANS, join join ISSP, join these specific, and they have student memberships.
Yep.
They have individual memberships, so you don't have to go to the big corporate $1,000 thing. You don't have to do that. Go to RSA. You don't have to attend all the sessions. You don't have to spend all the money to attend these sessions, or find the local security magazine puts on a lot of things locally. Just go in as an observer and talk to the vendors that are there. One tip, don't be like me and fill your bag with 85 pieces of collateral. Then it ends up weighing 90 pounds. And you look at it as you're walking out of the place going, yeah, but I like that squishy balls. I'm going to keep that and throw all this crap away. Don't do that. What's cool now is you can scan the QR code that they have on the booths and you can get the material, but talk to those people. You don't know what you're going to uncover.
Jane, this is amazing. The amount of gold that you've just come up with then is just great. So thank you so much for coming on the pod. And I'm looking forward to maybe even having you on for a second series, because we didn't even get to speak that much about some really interesting stuff. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. It was great chatting. Thank you.